And welcome back, everyone, to Weber State Esports, where tonight we will have our League of Legends game here in the NECC. Something to mention is that briefly, right before the stream started, the varsity games actually were already decided as the enemy team had gone ahead and forfeited. So we are actually going to be watching our varsity violet, or not our varsity, our junior varsity violet team tonight.
Yeah, so this is a different division. They will be playing against Northern Arizona University's varsity team. Currently, the records are Northern Arizona University is 4-1, and Weber State is 1-4 in their division. But we should have some exciting games here as we see this matchup lining up.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week for streams. Monday we had our Valorant games get postponed until Tuesday. And for those of you who joined us on Wednesday, you know how much fun we had with some of our technical issues going on with that stream. But we do always think that you do show up, that you are here, and we will be very excited to get these games underway once things are set up. I think the teams are still just finalizing things, getting together to get into the draft and get things rolling.
And these types of games should be honestly kind of more exciting to watch. You'll see that the players are less slaves to the meta and more slaves to what they like to play. So we'll see some probably some wacky bans and different picks that aren't as conventional, or maybe that you're not seeing at Worlds right now. But we'll see that the players can pull off and play pretty well.
You know what? I do like that fact that you brought up because you kind of just get used to, oh, well, these are going to be the champions that are banned. These are the champions you're going to see played. Of course, you do have some niche bans that come through when it's against a certain player. We know that through and through with Jex when he got his Urgot banned consistently away from him. And nowadays, we see it with you where it's always possibly a Viego or a Belveth ban. Now everything's kind of new, kind of exciting because, yes, we get some of those bans, but the picks get funky.
Yep, funky picks all around. So we'll have to see what both teams decide to pull out. We're just waiting for a little bit. They've had to remake the lobby, so we'll have a little bit more time if you'll bear with us.
Yep, you gotta love it. The Riot Spaghetti code, I guess, when they were creating the draft, someone's thing crashed, and so they have to get back in, do everything all over again. So they have to do it right because they have to keep picks and bans that had happened the same. So we are going to be a little bit more delayed. Thank you once again for bearing with us.
Yeah, so Weber State has actually had an awesome showing for League of Legends this year. We have 3 junior varsity teams, which has been awesome.
It's been kind of crazy to go from how we had 0 the last year, just wasn't something that could happen. There wasn't the interest. And now we have, yeah, like you said, 3 junior varsity teams. They're all doing reasonably well. It's a interesting spread between them. We have several teams that have, a couple good records, some that have a little bit worse for wear. Our lower team is a little bit hurting. But then you have our varsity team that we are really rocking it because with the forfeit we got today, our varsity team is 6-0. We have not lost.
Yeah, and the varsity team being in that highest division, so it should be the utmost level of gameplay. And it's kind of the fun part of the NECC is they break these games out into different divisions based on skill level. So it gives the opportunity for like Weber State University, where we have so many teams that every team can still play in the league and participate, but also without like having match fixing or playing in the same division. So it's kind of a fun opportunity, helping people get involved and just really building up the scene. So shout out NEC.
And as always, we do strive here at Weber State Esports to do our best for the stream. So if there's anything you possibly think that we can do better or you'd like to see, go ahead and throw it in chat. Let us know. We always strive to give you the best we possibly can. Sometimes funky things happen, but it does look like the match has been remade. The draft has happened, and we should be getting into it here soon. And actually, I guess I was misinformed. We won't be doing a draft because of the shenaniganery that happened. It's just going to be a straight jump in to game so we can kind of see some things that have happened. We will see. Weber has gone for a interesting pick with a Mel Rakan bot lane with a Victor mid, Jax jungle, and a Yorick top. Definitely that funky team building you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, and then we see on the opposite side, Northern Arizona University's got a Malphite top, Hecarim jungle, which is something that I have not seen in a very long time, even in solo queue. Echo mid, Jinx bot lane, and Braum support. So it should be an interesting matchup. Weber State, I think, opting to go maybe double AP into the Malphite. We don't know the pick orders, so just a little bit of postulation here, but should be a good damage spread from them with the AD jungle and top and the double AP bot lane.
I think the interesting thing with Weber is that they have scaling in their jungle and mid lane, and then early pressure with their Mel and Yorick. Yorick's actually pretty good. He's pretty good early, but he does scale quite well. Could be very annoying in the split where you're going to have to maybe send the Echo, send the Hecarim to deal with him, but he can usually 2v1 pretty well. He's very annoying because he just pops his ult, has that maiden come out, and basically makes it a 2v2.
Yeah, it should be an interesting game. I think if NAU can get ahead early, it will be hard for Weber to catch up in the scaling. However, Weber State, if they are allowed to scale, it'll be really hard for NAU to keep up just even on even terms.
One thing I will mention that is really good, at least for Weaver's team comp, is that because they do have the Mel Reflect is there to be quite annoying. You see a Jinx rocket coming? No, it doesn't. You see a Time Stopper from Echo coming? No, it doesn't. Heck, even a Malphite Q can be reflected back at.
Yeah, it should be good utility there for Weber State. We see both teams kind of going for a pretty typical setup, both junglers clearing from top to bottom. Weber State able to establish some early wards there in the Northern Arizona jungle, so they are aware of where the enemy is. Northern Arizona is aware of that Jax position as well.
Yeah, and you will notice that the Hecarim is faster. It's just the way it is because of the stacking Q. I want to say his Q's name is Rampage. I'm not 100% sure, but it stacks up, gets more and more damage, is very, very strong, makes him clear very, very quickly. He's just a fast pony.
Yeah, and Jack's not really ever known for his quick clears either. You'll see him clearing at probably one of the slower kind of, I'll say meta with air quotes, junglers at the moment. He just doesn't have a ton of speed until he really hits level 6 and gains that passive on his third auto attacks, as well as picking up a few items. We do see Hecarim might be down here for an early jungle gank in bot lane, or he's just clearing for the Scuttle Crab, which it looks like Jack should be able to meet him there, so they may be able to contest that.
Yeah, Weber had vision, so they know he's here, and because Weber had the push, they will be able to come here early. The grand entrance from Rakan will miss, though the root from Mel gonna go ahead and hit, but it's just gonna be a ghost out of Hecarim for the Crab, which will allow Image to simply run to the top lane and get his own Crab.
Yeah, crab for crab, not a bad trade. It was a good heads up from Image to run down the river instead of upwards. If he would have ran upwards, the Jax could have counter-striked and stuck him there. So good play from him to be able to avoid giving away that first blood.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out is the minion difference here in the top lane. Raised, he's just going to simply be bullying this Malphite, and it's going to be that way. Malphite gonna struggle a little bit, has to be careful of his mana, but yeah, just simple York things. And you can actually see here on the side, just you can see the total CS here. Weber, all 3 lanes up on their opponents. Crazy.
Yeah, good job from Weber State. They do have these bully lanes, like you mentioned, the York into Malphite. We see this Victor into Echo. Echo, a melee kind of assassin, and you might have a hard time jumping onto Victor where he's got that gravity well. We do see now that the gravity well is down, the Echo can get back in and trade. However, Imtendo able to just trade back pretty well, hitting his skill shots and making sure the health bars stay even.
Yeah, one of the things that you'll hear a lot about Victor's E, formerly Death Ray, now called Hex Ray, rest in peace, is that the Victor has to miss it. You don't dodge it, he misses.
Yeah, very true. Especially when you're close range like this Echo, because that first part of the ray will just hit. Jack's here able to come and support his mid laner so that he's able to farm these last creeps before he needs to recall. It does look like the Hecarim is going to try and make an issue here for this Jax, and he does have support from the Echo, so we'll have to see if they're able to pull off this invade or what Image is going to do about it.
Yeah, it looks like the smite will go down. I'm not sure if Jax got it or if the Hecarim got it, but unfortunately, Jax being a little bit too ambitious, knowing that the teleport's coming in, thinking he can do more, and just the quick damage from Echo and Hecarim going to be enough to kill him and give first blood over to NAU. I will mention, though, that this is your stereotypical Victor build. He is going Rod of Ages. Yes, Rod of Ages got nerfed, but still very strong. And you see that Mel Reflect coming in here as they're trying to get more onto the Jax, taking away more of his jungle. And they will go ahead and get the Grump. Things going okay for Weber, not the exact situation they want to have. And just back to Farming Simulator 101, you can see it's really starting to be dire situations for this Malphite. The best he can really hope to do is poke Yorick out and then look for an ultimate play. But Yorick is more than happy to do his own poking, and if anyone has played against the Yorick, you know that Yorick's poke usually outtrades yours.
Yeah, really rather unfortunate for this Malphite here. You do see him just barely hitting level 6. He is down quite a bit of XP and minions with the wave pushing into him. It's not in a great state. This is going to allow for Jax also to take some jungle camps back on his own. I want to see if this Hecarim can catch back up with him. Hopefully able to secure this blue buff for himself. Nope, the Hecarim just comes over and smites it. So this Jax is now really far behind as he was not able to steal that blue buff there.
Yeah, and now getting jumped on by the Echo and getting chunked out. Just really rough position for him to be in as he is very vulnerable now. Gonna try to get his own buff. Yes, he does have his smite up now so that he will be able to secure his own buff. But these chickens, they're going the way of Hecarim, and it's just not pleasant for Image right now.
And this is kind of why a lot of players will say that jungle is a difficult role. You see like the level difference in the Hecarim and the Jax, as we do see that the team Weber State is trying to collapse in on this Hecarim. However, he just deftly escapes using his charge to jump over the Yorick wall. As we do have some more trades going on in the mid lane, Weber State trying to scrap and fight a little bit. It looks like they're able to use this pressure to be able to maybe take a grub or two, which is great considering how far as we've mentioned, that this Jax is behind. Hecarim does still have his ult, but Jax now gaining the level 6 on that first grubby. And it looks like the Northern Arizona University is just going to give up the 3 grubs.
Well, and this is where one of the things that's really good for Weber is that they've picked Mel. Mel is fine being on her own. She has long range, she has beautiful wave clear, and Braum engages by hitting a Winter's Bite, his Q. Well, Mel's just going to simply reflect that back at him most of the time. Come on, Mel, make me eat my words, why don't you? And yeah, so they're fine being under tower farming. Mel's passive makes it so easy to farm. It feels great. And you just see the difference in farm. Yeah, it's only 8 minions, but 8 minions is 8 minions.
Yeah, very true. Mel is low here, but the Rakan here able to support. And you can see that Jinx has her rocket. She probably wants to use it, but just knows that it's not going to work with that reflect up. So Mel able to, like you said, hold down that bot lane and get out, allowing for Weber to pressure on other sides of the map. Northern Arizona, though, looking to take this dragon. They do have the vision and control, 4 members here, so it might just be a give from Weber State.
Yeah, definitely a give, especially with Rakan not having his ultimate. The quickness would have done wonders there, but Weber knowing first dragon, nothing to really get too antsy over. As in the top lane, Yorick just going back and doing Yorick things, gonna keep getting the minion difference, especially with the Maiden, where it literally kind of just farms for you. Feels really good to play Yorick.
Yeah, managing to just maintain this control and dominance here in the top lane for the Yorick. We do see gold leads in the top lane. It's almost or a 600 gold lead. In the mid lane, though, because that Echo did get the kill early, we have 400 gold towards the Echo. We see trading in here as we see the trades. Now, the gravity field is down for the Victor, so this is the chance when Echo can trade more. However, his wave's just pushing in, so he may not have that opportunity.
That and Victor has his upgraded Hex Ray. Echo, unfortunately, does not outpush a Victor at this point. With that ward there, they will be able to see the Hecarim coming in, trying to do some funny things. You're going to see, once again, the Hex Rays coming down, being very annoying. The Rakan is here to help be safe. And yeah, just a lot of damage. The quickness now coming down. Echo not going to be able to hit his ultimate, as not only was he charmed, but the ultimate from Victor silencing him as a attempt at a gank came in on the top lane. Maiden gonna get left out here, the ultimate coming down, and yeah, it's looking dire, but all of a sudden comes right back as Weber gonna go ahead and pop their ultimate, and the TP coming in from Rakan with the unsealed spellbook. Malphite now doesn't have an ultimate, could be in a really bad position.
Yeah, good reaction here from Weber State to be able to defend against that. It did, the stacking of ultimates did look pretty bad, and it could have been a bad situation, but just, again, able to stabilize and really just not allow this Malphite to catch back up. Now, Malphite being down in gold is not necessarily the worst thing in the world for Northern Arizona, as his ult and his utility is just always there. It doesn't really matter how much ability power or attack damage you have, because at the end of the day, it is still just a knock-up. But it is something that may be missing a little bit from their damage profiles, as we do see Echo maybe getting a little overzealous jumping into Weber State's jungle, as there's a 3-man collapse on him, having to ult out, but it looks like he should be safe there. Now, Northern Arizona counter-striking back with the Hecarim here, just trying to invade in onto this Jax again.
Yeah, and at this point, Image knows that it's kind of a dangerous thing. The Jinx going to get rooted up by Mel, going to get some damage down. The Grump will go down, and that is going over to the Hecarim, which is very good. The Reflect now being used, but Braum in a dire position as he is going to go down right here. Jinx going to get hit by the Grand Entrance, and now going to get charmed, and that is a very dead Jinx. Weber State popping back, and now with the Echo not having an ultimate, it opens up for Imtendo to try to get the kill down. Will walk towards this wall. Looks like he's going to have to flash over, but still, all in all, Weber's quite happy with that. They get the feats of warfare.
Yeah, great response from Weber State. This I'm loving what Arashi is doing with his crowd control layering. He's done a fantastic job with his ult and with the knock-up on Rakan, just to be able to make sure that Northern Arizona is not able to do what they need to do. Fantastic play from Weber State to turn what looked like bad situations into good ones.
Well, and then on top of that, we mentioned, you will see total gold over here really quickly. We do see that Hecarim is in first, has a lot of gold, is power farming, but then it is 4 members of Weber. That speaks a lot, as I didn't expect this first item from Mel. Bloodletter's Curse.
You know, that's an interesting one. Mel's Q would stack that very well. I mean, I think even if you hit half of the Q, you've got most of the charges up. I believe her Q hits 9 times, and it takes 6 charges to get it stacked all the way up. Definitely an interesting choice, though. You can see she is going for Seraphs as well, so she'll have some decent AP damage here in a minute. But yeah, definitely an interesting choice for her.
Yeah, and the tower instantly going to go down for this Yorick. Unfortunately, that's probably all she wrote, as the Hecarim just doing way too much damage. Yorick doing what he can to get a lot of damage down, and gets quite a bit of damage. If he had more health, probably would have done more, but sacrificed his life for the tower for the feats of strength.
Yeah, this is a great grab from Weber State, able to secure those feats through the kills and the tower. Excellent plays from them to be able to make sure that they can get those, especially where their jungle control has been a little bit more rough. So overall, good play from Weber State. We do see that Yorick is up by 1.4k gold and the Mel up by 1.2. So these will probably be the pressure points that Weber State's going to attempt to play through, and they'll need to fight off from this the Hecarim and the Echo and the Jinx.
Yep, and importantly, I will mention that because the Grubs went over to Weber, that was 5 plates
as we see a Hecarim ulting into Weber State Esports. He does get a big fear. Mel does get pushed into the enemy team. She has some good reflex, but isn't able to put her damage down, as Weber State Esports is going to lose 3 members of their team in exchange for 0 from Northern Arizona, as it looks like Northern Arizona will be able to take this dragon as well. Great engage play from Northern Arizona, able to push on to their strengths and separate the Weber State Esports team.
Yeah, that Hecarim ult doing a lot, but unfortunately the Echo here looks like he's going to have to flash away as he gets stunned up here under tower. One thing we didn't see was in the top lane, Yorick got a solo kill.
Yeah, this Yorick able to keep pressure on the map. This is going to be a very good point from Weber State, able to take some of these cross-map trades and be able to hopefully maintain their gold lead through these sides, as Yorick's just going to be able to take this whole tier 2 tower within just a matter of a minute of being alone up there with the Malphite.
Yeah, and instantly he's going to go help out his jungler, take the Rift Herald, which they can then use to crack mid lane.
Yeah, Weber State doing a great job at taking these towers. We see that they've got 4 towers to 0 from Northern Arizona. Now that's great for them. It also does mean, though, that if Northern Arizona can clean up some of these macro plays and take towers, that they can reestablish that gold pretty quickly. So we'll have to see if Weber State's able to keep some pressure up and pull out some picks to be able to maintain their gold lead in other ways as well.
Yeah, should be very interesting to see how things happen. I do think the Hecarim's build is quite interesting. He has gone for the Eclipse first instead of the Triforce or the Spear of Sojin, which is what I usually see. As Yorick gonna get stunned up here, gonna get bounced. And yeah, just unfortunately too far forward, not any vision. The Jinx Rocket even being used to possibly get a snipe. But that is a lot of pressure used in the top lane, and that leaves Imtendo here to get some damage here onto the mid lane, but looks like he's going to run bot lane to try to help this bot lane kill them. With them dropping the Herald, yeah, it's a done deal at this point. Jinx going to get stunned up. We'll get the Chompers to stop the Jax from running in, but the Male ult coming down. And unfortunately, Braum, you're not going anywhere. There is a Victor here to stop you from doing anything. The Chaos Storm coming down. And yeah, Braum, you're getting the stun off, but Victor gonna get you gone before you can use your Glacial Fissure. And then Shelly also charged.
Yeah, good play from Weber State to try and get this cross map. Oh, and they might be able to get this shutdown gold from this Hecarim. There are 3 members here. If he isn't able to get a kill from somebody else, we do see this Malphite running it down. He does have a good angle for an ult. I guess his ult is on cooldown, excuse me, but he's not able to provide the support they need. Weber State maybe not with enough manpower here to be able to take the tower. They do get a few shutdowns though, so that's good for them to be able to keep establishing this gold economy. Northern Arizona notably taking this tier 1 top tower. So both teams trying to cross map, trying to trade, and see what hairs they can pull and how they can pull ahead.
Yeah, importantly, I will say the Male passive coming in clutch there, as Hecarim just died so quickly once he got CC'd. That is the downside of NAU's comp, is if they are CC'd, Mel and Victor will rip you apart.
Yeah, a very squishy comp from them. I mean, both teams don't necessarily have characters that are known to be the best of tanks. However, it will just come down to what abilities can be used and how they can pull it off. As we see the Echo fighting this Yorick up here, Hecarim is here to support. However, Weber State brings 2 additional members. Yorick just able to casually walk out as this Rakan and this Jax are able to secure some kills. This is some great gold back onto Weber State's own junglers. Hecarim goes back in with the 3-man ult. The Jinx Rocket able to help him secure the kill. It was good communication and team play from them. Weber State, unfortunately, too low to be able to push anything off of there, but a great trade back despite losing efforts from NAU.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that was Weber State's support that died, and kills went on to their jungler and their top laner. Not a great feeling if you're NAU. Malphite gonna try to do what he can against Mel, but you're seeing it come in right now. Mel's full AP. Malphite has built armor. It hurts when you're in this position as a Malphite.
Yeah, maybe not the best lane assignment for the Malphite to be in. We do see that this Yorick is coming back down to fight him, so the armor will be a little bit more useful. However, the Yorick does have a 2.8k gold lead on this Malphite. You can see him just running straight for the man. He does have those Swiftly boots, so the Malphite Q is not going to do a whole lot on slowing him down. but he is still able to escape nonetheless. Good job from this Malphite to get out from a bad situation. As we do see Jax now able to fight this Echo in the top lane. However, it looks like a 2v3 here for Weber State. Hecarim maybe overplaying his cards a little bit, as we do see the Rakan coming in with the quickness and the knockup. Hecarim needing to respond with his ult to escape. This may be able to be a good Otacon angle from Weber State Esports, as they do have the pressure and they do have champions that are able to put some damage down on it.
Yeah, and importantly, in the bot lane, while this is going on, just a push from Yorick. Now the question is, do we fight over the Otacon, or do we stop our base from being taken?
Yeah, it is a very good question. The Yorick definitely able to take that base. We do see this Otacon is started. It's about 2/3 HP. NAU trying to jump in. Both, or two members of them are at half HP, as Weber State does actually have a few low members from this Otacon as well. If this Mel is eliminated from the fight, that is a lot of Weber's damage, so we'll have to see how they can be able to push this on. It does look like they engage, and they are able to almost take out the Braum, but they're not able to. The Jinx Rocket secures the kill onto the Jax. It looks like Hecarim does go down, though, so NAU does not have a jungler anymore. And Weber State has been able to regroup, and they're putting down some damage. They do catch out this Echo as well. Malphite is here for an ult, but I don't think that NAU has the front line or the health bars to be able to fight this. So Weber State able to secure an Otacon, able to group up really well and pull out from starting down a member or losing a member, and able to secure that fight and the Otacon.
Yeah, and importantly, one of the things is once both junglers are down, well, who do you think is going to secure the objective at that point? Well, Mel with her ever-stacking passive of Doom.
Yeah, very true. The Mel passive, very good at taking those objectives. With her Q in on an Otacon, it's just going to keep stacking and stacking and stacking. So not a whole lot that NAU could do there. Good play from Weber State again to keep that up. And we do see like the Hecarim's gold lead is shrinking a little bit, but the Yorick's gold lead is continuing to grow and grow and grow. So Weber State pulling up ahead, as we do see the total gold now. The Hecarim is the second place in gold. Yorick at over 10k though, the only member on the map above 10k, and 1300 gold even above the second place player.
Yeah, just crazy gold, and that's why, Weber is up this 4k gold. As once again, they're going in onto this Yorick. He's just been such a pivotal point of pressure. It will cost him his life, which is never really good. You want to be in a position where you know where the enemy is, you know that you can possibly face things, and you want your team to be in a position where if you do die, they can at least get things. As Weber's bot lane here, in a little bit of a picker, they're going to run out here, but Mel going to be able to speed away with the help of Rakan.
Yeah, not really a great thing to see your highest gold lead die for Weber State Esports. Again, just giving more of a shutdown to the NAU squad. And then as well, Yorick, when he's dead, he's not able to pressure the opposite side of the map. Luckily, there aren't any objectives up that need to be taken, but we do see from this opposite pressure, the Malphite ult onto the Victor, as well as the Echo follow-up. And this Victor will just go down to the Echo. Rather unfortunate cross map from Weber, maybe overplaying their hand a little bit, as they don't have enough pressure to be able to maintain their lanes and understand where the enemies are.
It was really close. You do see this Victor, though, pumping out damage, as the Jinx's flash going to be burned, as they have to get away from the Mel route.
Yeah, Jinx flash down is a huge cooldown, especially as we see that it won't be up for when Baron spawns, and it also won't be up for the next Dragon spawn. So a big cooldown and an important one to be down with good timing for Weber State if they do pressure these objectives right away. This Victor build is interesting. Usually what we have been seeing is if someone goes Rod of Ages, they do go Seraphs as well, which means double scaling. And at this point in the game, the Victor wouldn't have as much damage, but I think that Leandri's really putting in work for him.
Yeah, he knows that he needs some damage to come in somewhere, as Rod of Ages doesn't give you all the most damage in the world. But no, just doing great things. And because of that, you saw briefly, the level differences are insane, as Victor is up 2 levels on the next highest of the top laners.
Yeah, and I mean, if you even look across at his lane opponent, he is basically 1.5 levels up on this Echo. which really kind of minimizes that goal difference. As we see a Malphite ult onto this Jackson Rakan. However, Malphite just flashing away, but it may be that this Jax is caught out as he does continue to chase, and the Hecarim is there. We do see 4 members of NAU, or 5 members, excuse me, chasing this Jax down in the jungle. However, he's surviving an awfully long time as we see a great redemption pop, and the Mel able just to kill the Echo with that execute. And a fabulous Mel ult taking down the Braum, as well as Weaver State Esports shows up, and they're just able to chase down these members of NAU. Only the Hecarim surviving, and guess what just spawned? Baron.
Not even that. Look at your bot lane, and guess who's teleporting? Both mid lane and the support. So all of a sudden you went from having a decent engage to you're losing your base.
Yeah, and honestly for NAU, it didn't feel like they should be losing this game in 25 minutes, but with a play like that and with the pressure they have from the York and the lead, they are able just to take this base down, and it looks like NAU may not be able to respond it. They are coming up now, so we do see a Braum and an Echo and a Jinx popping out of base, but Weaver State does have 4 members here. Now, Weaver State plays it right. Yep, they will take down this Nexus. A good game from Weaver, and honestly, a great play to have their members teleport down, capitalize on that pressure, and just take the Nexus.
Yeah, I think the pivotal point was that they simply walked into a chokehold against a Mel.
Yeah, maybe not the best of plays, and honestly, Jax staying alive so long, allowing the Mel just to get her stacks down. Yeah, great play, great response, and a good game from this Weber State junior varsity team.
Well, we hope to see you for Game 2 shortly.
Welcome back to another NECC game, Weber State Esports versus Northern Arizona University. Game one went over to Weber State Esports. This is a best of three series, so we'll see if Weber State can close it out here or if NAU will take some revenge and take their own game.
Yep. We do love to see our JV Violet doing well here in these games. If I am not mistaken, these are fearless games. So we will not be seeing any of the 10 champions we saw last game. But once again, that just means fun picks.
Yeah, so no Hecarim's, no Malphites, no Echoes, none of our Mel bot lanes or Racons. It should be another exciting game. It's fun to see these players get scrappy and figure out what they can play and also what they can play into the enemy team well, as these counter picks can be very important in some of these games.
And a lot of the time I find it a lot more fun because you're not giving the typical, oh, well, if they pick this, I pick this. If, it's more, oh, wait, who is good into that champion? As we're going to see things starting out here, let's see what these teams will now pull out of the hat as Ari going to get banned away. Good, classic, strong mid laner.
Yeah, NAU on this blue side getting the first ban down. Weber State responding with a Nami. Nami just a solid enchanter support and a good overall ban, especially if she is in capable hands.
Yeah, Darius, good ban. You will see him getting banned away, usually in lower elo. A lot of people just get frustrated because all of a sudden, oh yeah, he's going to kill my tank. Wow, he just 5-stacked my tank, autoed me once, and now I'm dead.
And the Warwick ban back as well. Warwick and Darius, very strong low elo picks. I have a friend that plays Darius, and he loves smashing that into the enemy players. A Mel ban, it looks like
I guess what we're seeing is, I think maybe in these lower divisions, it's not fearless. So the Mel going to go ahead and get banned away. We're seeing if that's a weird thing where it was an accident or not. We'll get back to you on that.
Vladimir ban as a response to, again, Vladimir, a frustrating champion to play with, and in someone that knows how to use him, he can take advantage pretty quick. We do see this Ashe pick as the number one pick for NAU. This may leave it open for Weber State to be able to pick some engage supports or things that are strong into the Ashe to be able to really capitalize on her lack of movement.
Lack of movement, very good engage. You could also say, yeah, look, so 100% with this Rakan being locked in, we are just getting notified now that I guess our JV, our lowest division team is not in a fearless division. It might just be the highest JV team and the varsity team. We will get more information on what is what and what's going on with that. But interesting things happening. We're excited, shaking things up, doing some cool things. As we have the Pharrell Yordian bot lane.
Yeah, Braum Ashe, a good lane for just that casual crowd control, some good slowing. Braum, a good pick into Rakan, pretty typically. Volibear and Gwen is going to be, if this is a top lane, it could be a classic. Volibear and Gwen quite able to carry games by themselves, and it could be a very volatile top lane if they do both make it in the top, as either could be flexed into the jungle as well.
Yes, though Gwen did just get a small revert. Riot's been trying to fix Gwen, and it's not been great. They keep changing things and saying, well, that sucks, so then they keep reverting it. That was what this change was. They reverted her back to where she was, I think, 2 patches ago. So I think a little bit less strong early game, a little bit stronger late.
We do see the Seraphine picked by Weber State Esports. So Seraphine, Rakan bot lane, I'm assuming. Seraphine, again, could be flexed in the mid lane, but very interesting picks, able to keep their distance, probably spaced away from the Ashe and Braum. Katarina ban from Weber State, followed by a Yorick ban from Northern Arizona University. I'm almost honestly surprised they didn't ban it in the first round, as Yorick was quite the menace in the last match.
Yasuo getting banned away really quick here. Makes sense. Yasuo very strong into Seraphine. Can just negate a lot of what she can do. So, and then Nefiri getting banned away. Could be a jungle, could be a mid lane. Heck, could even be a top lane. We've seen it as Orianna going to get picked. So it's what we're seeing here is that the bot laner for Weber State's Violet team really likes their mage bot laners.
Yeah, as we're assuming the Seraphine going into the bot lane, Orianna a good solid pick with Rakan or even a Volibears. They are able to jump into the middle of the enemy team. So we'll have to watch out for those shockwaves and see how this Orianna will be able to play.
So now jungle and top lane, I mean mid lane, needed for NAU. Galio instantly going to get picked up for the matchup into the Orianna. Very good into the dive composition, because if you don't hit Galio, all of a sudden Orianna's doing everything, but then Galio's going to come in, give big old shield, knock you up. Good counter engage coming in. Now, their jungler or their top laner, because like you said, Gwen could be in the jungle.
Yeah, well, looking for some good engage from NAU, and it turns into a Tristana. So it could be Galio top, Tristana mid. Is probably what I would assume. Is I think the Tristana is maybe a little bit safer into the Orianna. I guess it just depends on how the players like to play these matchups. We're going to also probably assume that it's a Gwen jungle. Interesting picks from NAU. They don't really have any solid engage other than an Ashe arrow. The Braum ultimate's not necessarily the best engage, and Weber State just responds with a Garen. So Garen I'm assuming a Galio is a great pick. As this is just a fun draft. We're gonna just have to see how these players pull this out, because it's gonna be volatile, and I think it's gonna be awesome.
You know what? Everything was like going according to plan in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, everything makes sense. This is great. And then the Tristana got picked, and I'm like, well, what the heck? It does just scream, it has to be Gwen jungle. I think that might be because of the Reaver I was mentioning earlier. She did see a decent amount of jungle play during this patch where she was like this. So I guess that makes sense. But Galio top blind. I know we've seen it in Worlds recently, but that is in response to Rumble.
Yeah, it's an interesting, and I just don't know if NAU is expecting maybe a Garen or an 80 top laner that is able to fight into the Galio so well. So we'll just have to see how this goes. Galio definitely needs to be very careful, otherwise this Garen can take this game over.
Yeah, and it looks like we're getting ready to load onto the Rift here. I was going to joke around before we loaded onto the Rift that, guys, let's not jump to conclusions here. It could be a Garen jungle. Riot buffed it. But no, it is going to be Garen top lane.
Yeah, Garen top lane. Indeed, we see. Also, I'd like to highlight the summoner spells from this bot lane, as we do see Seraphine with Exhaust, Rakan with Heal, whereas NAU has a Barrier on Ashe and Exhaust on Braum. So very supportive. This Seraphine Rakan should be very safe in this early game. Just as long as they don't get hit by too many Braum stuns, they should be able to keep their distance and disengage and just farm up safely.
I mean, one thing I was going to say, you say that, Ashe has barrier, but let's be honest. So does Seraphine. Seraphine W. It's on a lower cooldown, and late game, it's just as big.
Yeah, Seraphine, very annoying, able just to sustain up as well as poke out the enemy team. The enemy bot lane, NAU, doesn't necessarily have any sustain. So if she can get some poke down, it will be a very annoying for them. But they do also have tools to be able to deal with it. They have a lot of slows. They have the Braum shield, lots of resistances to stack on. So they should both lanes should be pretty safe. It'll be interesting to see if there is any contention down there, as I believe where the most of the action will be happening is probably going to be this Orianna Tristana or the Garen Galio, as we mentioned. So we see Tristana able to just be annoying, throw her bomb onto the Orianna, get some poke.
Yeah. One thing I will mention, I do just have to give a quick shout out to one of our other casters, Odd Koala. If you look at Weaver's team, you will notice that NAU needs a Serpent's Fang somewhere. It's probably going to have to be on their Sonic, because you look at it. Garen shields himself. Volibear shields himself. Seraphine shields. Orianna shields. Rakan has a shield in a way. I am screaming internally on behalf of Odd Koala.
Yeah, lots of shields definitely for NAU, or for Weber State, I mean. So we'll see if NAU responds with that. I think it probably will depend on how crazy this team gets out of control and where they want to put those items, because they can be very impactful and make a big difference for that Weber State team. We see Oriana able to make some good trades despite some of the nerfs that she's received, able to maintain mana and just get some good poke onto this Tristana, not allowing Tristana to farm. Tristana's still doing okay in the farm, but now being pushed off as we're hitting these level 3 spikes.
Yeah, and one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that I think, oh, well, Oriana already used the command attack, the command dissonance, I'm fine. And then she auto-attacks you for 5 bajillion damage.
Yeah, Oriana passive very strong. We do see it looked like on that level 3 trade, Tristana just trades back on Oriana. So a volatile lane. It looks like each champion just trading off based on what level they are and who should do damage. I'm thinking that Tristana maybe does take a little bit of an advantage here now that she has access to all 3 spells, and that is where Oriana was nerfed, was in her spell scaling and how she was able to harass in that way. But we do see Volibear kind of around this mid lane. He is spotted out, so he maybe not able to get that gank off, but he is going for the Scuttle Crab. He does have support from the bot lane, so able to secure that pretty handily. Gwen will get exhausted, but just for a simple trade, as it looks like Volibear might be able to do a double Scuttle here.
Yeah, the double crab, very good. And you saw the most beautiful words that everyone hates when Gwen is in play. Gwen is immune.
We love Gwen being immune. Now, it does look like NAU is able to support their jungler and help take this Scuttle Crab. Volibear is swinging towards this top side. It looks like he may just be running straight for his Crubs as Gwen decides to reset. The top lane actually sitting in quite a stalemate. Galio able... Ooh, Oriana almost going down to this Tristana in the mid lane. She does need a back. Due to Tristana's kit, she would be able to just dive the Oriana under the tower. Luckily, Oriana does have the teleport available and honestly able to just to pick up some scaling items in that tier, holding down pretty well.
Yeah, and now that we're here in the top lane, you do see that Raised has been under pressure. It's kind of one of the ways. Galio has a lot of base damages, but here's the difference between Garen and Galio, the G's of the top lane. Garen doesn't have mana, and he has a passive that gives him infinite health. That's the difference.
Yeah, Garen able to sustain up well here, especially with how strong some of the rune pages have been with sustain. I think even despite those nerfs, Garen just able to maintain his health. He is just maintaining the wave. Galio opting to not TP back to wave, so we'll have to see if there's any XP advantages that Garen does pull out of that. But otherwise, both sides of the map just farming pretty evenly. We see the bot lane mostly even as farm as the waves kind of bounce back and forth. Oriana does have a slight advantage now, but she is recalling as Tristana's here to catch a wave. So overall, both teams doing well and able to maintain what they have and not allow the enemy to pull too far ahead.
Yep, just some pretty good feelings here. Pretty simple. And it's going to be slow until it's not. It's just the way League happens. As you actually see a lot of things coming out as a flash going to be forced out of the Galio. You see that he did a lot of damage onto Garen here. But you have to realize Garen wasn't at full health when that happened. And now he's just going to back off of this wave, get all that health back. And Galio is now down health and down mana. It is painful. As maybe a little bit of trouble here for Seraphine. As gonna possibly have to flash, as if Braum tags her, will be going ahead and getting the stun. But the bait is there as Volibear is in. Gwen gonna have to ghost away. Gonna be running fast. Braum gonna go ahead and flash over. Possibly gonna just sacrifice his own life. Will go ahead and do so. The sins of the jungler paid by for the support.
Yeah, a good turn from Weber State, able to have support there, and they're able to protect their Seraphine. A great job from Pectoral Enjoyer from not just blowing his flash too early and in fact baiting it out. He did get fairly low there, but just able to protect that summoner and bait the enemy team into staying a little bit too long. And now NAU able to secure a dragon and a kill from that. A great trade from Weber State Esports.
Yeah, Weber State picking up that first dragon does great. And in fact, because the Ashe was pushed off that wave, completely going to lose most of this wave to tower here. Braum doing the best he can to play interference as mid lane. Going to go ahead and trade up here. Now that Oriana has some magic damage, I say some because there's a ruby crystal in her inventory. And that you hate to see that as the Orianna, as even though you damaged the Tristana, the back still went off.
Yeah, that would have been a great back to interrupt from the Ori. That would have meant that Tristana either had to stay or was just going to lose a wave. But now Tristana will be able to get back in time to recover most of it. A little bit unfortunate there. But we do see both teams just, again, maintaining, staying even. We need to look for our grubs, which will spawn here in 5 seconds. As we see that the Rakan is already up here on this top side and prepared to help his jungler to be able to take those.
Yeah, I will mention that this Orianna is not going your typical Blackfire Orianna. It's a Rod of Ages Orianna.
Yeah, Imtendo looks like likes the scaling, as we do see that the Volibear is jumping in onto this Gwen, as Gwen is able to secure the first grub, both ultimates from the junglers down. We see the Ashe are coming across the map as Volibear does just get eliminated, as well as the Garen, but the Orianna is able to use her ultimate and Shockwave to be able to take out a couple members, as we do see Rakan surviving for a little bit, and now it's a 2v1 for this Orianna. She does have a health advantage over this Tristana though, so she might be able to trade back, as nope, just the Tristana jump reset, able to give her a slight edge in the advantage, and that is a great trade from NAU, able to secure at least one of the grubs and then pick up a bunch of more gold in kills on the back end.
Yeah, and that's leaving the rest of the grubs up. It will be to be determined who picks that up, but that will be 4 kills first for NAU, so they will have the advantage towards feats of strength. And now a very strong Tristana, who now with this back might be able to go and finish that collector.
Yeah, with a 1.2k gold lead on the Tristana, we do see quite a heavy advantage, as yes, that collector is finished, and especially where Orianna is going for more of that scaling build, the Tristana is going to have a huge advantage, as we see Garen checking these grubs, and he is able to get a bunch of damage off on the Gwen. However, the TP from Tristana and the follow-up from Galio able to push him off. So NAU will, in fact, claim all 3 of these grubs. Weaver State opting for cross map, able to invade inside this red buff so that the Volibear doesn't fall too far behind, and maintain some of the loss that maybe he took in the last fight.
Yep, and you do see that the check is coming in from NAU. They're saying, hey, Volibear's probably here. They will see him now taking these, will get a ward down. They're going to have to play very careful here because they need to not get dove. As, in fact, speaking of getting dove, it looks like a solo kill onto the Orianna by the Tristana. The magic of that collector being finished, I mentioned it, and now this is a 3 grub Tristana with a free tower.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of plates coming over, and just again taking care of this advantage. Burns showing off that Tristana is one of those champions that if you know how to play her, you know where to push your angles, you can really take advantage of these leads and be able to just keep continuing to push them. We'll have to see if Weber State adapts by either playing a little bit differently in the lanes, or if they're going to swap some champions around.
The only issue is that Weber doesn't really have a champion that goes well into Tristana right now unless you get her shut down first.
Yeah, it might need to be just a wave clearing Seraphine or something, but that's kind of sort of what Orianna could do anyways. So it may need to be clearing and then leaving, and not allowing for those opportunities for the trades or for killing to happen.
And I do think it is the Garen build, but the attack speed boots coming in being very annoying. So it's going to be a more, how do you say, bursty Garen, not so tanky. Will be very interesting to see what happens. As, yeah, this actually just might be a kill with a flash out because of that ultimate, as the, yeah, just a flat out kill coming in once again from Burns, as he is just going to be rampaging on this Tristana. Unfortunately for Seraphine, a staff of flowing water is not going to save you.
Yeah, that was insane damage. I think the Tristana E did half of that Seraphine's health bar when it was fully charged. She is definitely going to be a menace, and something that Weber State needs to begin to play around, as we see NAUs pushing their advantage and just taking Weber State's jungle control. Which is important, especially as this dragon pulls up, not able to secure a kill on this Volibear, but definitely able to take the pressure and be able to take this dragon.
Yeah, and this Volibear is not being tanky. He is going damage Volibear with a Cosmic Drive first. He's not looking to be in your face, be tanky, and that's how he does his damage. He's looking to Q you once and blow you up with his ultimate.
Yeah, looking kind of like a little bit of a Baus build, except for in the jungle. We'll have to see if they can be able to push that advantage. The sketchy part with being so glass cannon is that, once again, NAU just has this huge advantage on their glass cannon. So unless Weber State can really push their advantage and blow that up, not a whole lot's going to happen. As it looks like they may be trying to set up a dive on a full health Galio. We do see Galio going in with the taunt, but all three members of Weber State are here. We do have the silence and the Volibear ultimate to shut that tower down. A well-executed dive from this Weber State esports team.
Yeah, just not much you can do there, as this explosive charge isn't even doing full damage, and it forces out the redemption from Rakan to heal up this Seraphine. Yes, Weber will do well if they can get scaled, but scaling might not come with how fast this Tristana's come online.
Yeah, and again, Weber State trying to do their best to adapt. We'll have to see if they can hold it down. We do see this Gwen caught out. She was trying to take those chickens away. Three members of Weber State Esports are here, though, as the Gwen is super low, able to get out with less than 100 HP, but the threat of the enemy mid laner is here, and she is able to trade back and execute that Seraphine with the Collector. A well-timed Ash Arrow and a good heads-up play from NAU to be able to turn what was a bad play into a positive trade.
Yeah, just very much different here from game one, where Weber was able to make the plays, get ahead, and it's just not quite turning out the way they want it here. Yeah, and you just see the insane gold difference. There is 1.5k gold lead, not just on their laner, but on the next highest champion on the enemy team for this Tristana.
And that champion being a Garen, which can just be ulted away from Tristana. So overall, I think she's pretty safe in this game. She is able to, or she should be able to just continue to carry forth and help pressure these objectives and just continue to stack gold. We do see Garen just continuing to bully this Galio. Almost double the CS, and it looks like a 1.7k gold lead, a full item up on him. We'll have to see. Once again, like this point last game was that the top laner from Weber State Esports was able to pull so much pressure and set his waves up and take so many towers that it led to them having the victory. So we'll have to see if that's what he plans to go for again. We do see both teams here setting up around this Rift Herald, get kind of scrapping around a little bit for the Scuttle Crab as they are gathering. I don't know if this is a great fight for Weber State Esports at this time, as they're still just kind of scaling. They don't have a ton of direct damage items on their champions, but it looks like they're going to go for it. As Garen just jump in onto this Gwen, he may be able to get his ultimate off onto her. Tristana laying down a bunch of damage. However, the Rakan quickness and the knockup able to take the Tristana out of the fight for quite a while. Tristana is eliminated by this Garen, as we do see them taking out the Braum as well. Well executed. Again, crowd control layering from Rakan, as he was able to get the quickness and charm her, and then right as the charm ends, land a knockup, just absolutely annihilating the damage that NAU did have available, and now they're able to secure a Rift Herald from it. This is a very good turning point, I think, for Weber State Esports.
Yeah, and I think on top of the Rakan charm and knockup happening, because of that happening where the Braum was charmed, it allowed the encore to come through from the Seraphine, causing even more destruction to follow through. And Weber State doing exactly what they needed to, finding that in. It looked so bad until it wasn't. And, you know, I have to give it to Braum. He exhausted Garen, did great. It doesn't matter when Garen does true damage. You can't exhaust true damage.
And there's just, as you mentioned, like there's so many sources of damage from NAU as well. Like the Volibear does damage, the Garen does damage. Orianna maybe doesn't do a ton of damage yet, but both of those sources were on the Tristana, and it just made that fight incredibly difficult. And she just was blown up for it.
Yep. Orianna, though, in the meantime, top lane took the tower that Garen had whittled down, gotten so low. And things, you know, starting to look up for Weber. The Seraphine getting into a good position, starting to get some much needed gold and levels, as Tristana here getting jumped on again. And yeah, with the flash into the silence, that's one dead Tristana again. Garen probably going to trade his life against this Gwen, but the redemption coming through not soon enough. But this is a quickened Volibear. Will it be enough? Yes, it will be enough. Just the simple fact of the Cosmic Drive Volibear is terrifying. He goes chomp chomp.
You know, this would be the way that I would guess that Raised Hooch or Razzed Hooch is in fact a Garen main if he's willing to flash onto an enemy AD carry like that. Definitely leaving some peculiar hints that he does play quite a bit of Garen.
You say that, but coming from a top lane main myself, I would do that on any top laner. You see ADC in flash range, you flash.
Good point, excellent point. Good trades from Weber State here, able to also transition these kills into objectives. One thing that we see that is a downfall from teams is when they are able to get kills, but they're not able to transition them into anything, or they don't have the map presence to be able to do it. So great play from Weber State. They do now have 2 dragons secured compared to NAU's 1, and it will be an Infernal Soul this game.
Yeah, and the scary thing is that we've seen once again, this Tristana right now is the win point for NAU. But if you can't keep Garen off your Tristana's gonna die.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what NAU can be able to do that. They do have a few items of utility that Garen can't ignore, or if he blows his cooldowns to be able to cleanse some of them, then he won't be able to use it for the others. So he is playing this glass cannonies type of build, so he'll have to time things very well. As we see, he's just going to take this tower, and then Tristana says, not today, as she does jump in on him, and she does use that ult to space, but then she jumps to chase, and Garen's just able to turn it around and nuke her with the ult. Maybe a little bit of an overplay from the Tristana, the jumping to chase, a little bit overzealous. We do see a Gwen here. She should be able to clean this kill up. Pretty easy peasy. Giving a big shutdown to the Gwen is not exactly what Weber State wants to see, but also the Tristana losing that battle, maybe a little bit of a moral defeat.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it, but you could say that her death was guaranteed.
Oh, the guarantee hurts as we do see a 3-man gank onto this Galio in the top lane. The Recon quickness being used. There was an Ash Arrow in retaliation from NAU, but they still are able to secure this kill. Braum poking around, not able to do a whole lot to be able to save this Galio from the inevitable that was a 3-man Weber State Esports top lane.
You know, I want to mention something about both these teams. I think they hate top laners. The amount of 3 to 4-man ganks onto the enemy top laner, it's painful.
Yeah, playing into those weak sides or the one-man sides is a strong point and a good strategy to be able to use. Weber State, I think, coming out a little bit ahead of this game with it, as they are maybe not just collapsing on a top laner, but perhaps their AD carry in the mid lane as the flash is used in response. However, Weber State just says, well, I guess we can do the Otacon now. The Otacon getting down to about 6,000 HP as we see 3 members of Weber State Esports on it. However, NAU, he's here on time. However, 3-man Shockwave from the Orianna able to put a lot of damage down onto these carries as we see NAU trying to dive in. Weber State's responding with Recon knockups. However, the Volibear does go down. Weber State no longer has a smite, but neither does NAU as the Gwen is annihilated. The Ashe able to put down a ton of damage into this Garen. Weber State's carries still alive, however, as we see mid lane versus mid lane and AD carry versus AD carry. As Seraphine secures the Otacon somehow, despite a Tristana and an Ashe being within close range of it. I don't know if that comes down to skill or luck. I feel like it's definitely a luck thing.
I think what it comes down to is, funny enough, the same thing that secured the last Atacon. A passive. Seraphine's passive was ramped up. She had a bunch of motes from casting her spells and just sent all of them flying in, absolutely eviscerating. And Nintendo might be in a little bit of trouble here. We'll be able to use the command protect to get away. Does have cooldowns now to start getting things back in a more sustainable form for the Orianna. As big guy will go ahead and take this tower as well. And yeah, just a lot of back and forth. It has been crazy as the junglers keep dying before the objective does, and it's confusing me, as unfortunately Nintendo just gonna go down right there real quick. An Ash Arrow even to seal in the fate. There's no escaping there, I'm sorry, you were just too far forward.
Yeah, multiple ults invested from NAU. We see Gwen smartly using her ultimate to slow down the Orianna, just kind of confirming things. As Garen once again bullying this Galio down here in the bot lane. One thing I do want to point out from that Otacon fight, Orianna only had her Rod of Ages finished and not even fully stacked, and her combo still did 1/3 to 1/2 of the enemy team's health. These next fights are going to be so dangerous, especially if she's able to land an ultimate like that onto any member of NAU besides maybe this Galio and Braum, as they all are very squishy.
You know, the Gwen here taking a crap ton of towers, going to get this tower top lane as well. And she is fully online, has her 2 items, is very terrifying. Nintendo doing the right thing and backing away. One thing I was going to say, oh, never mind actually, as the Braum, they're just going to bypass the Braum and go straight for the Tristana. Unfortunately, you're charmed, you're stunned, you're knocked up, you're then Volibear stunned, and yeah, Braum's not long for this world either, except they are coming in here with the Galio ultimate, but the Garen is here as well. The Ashe going to get hit by the Encore, and I'm sorry, you're dead. You are not a Tristana, you don't have a hop. Another beautiful knockup coming from the Rakan, as just, I need training on how to play Rakan better.
Yeah, excellent plays from Arashi. Maybe Rakan should have been a ban this game, as his ability to engage in these fights and just lock the enemy down is fantastic. As Garen feeling really confident, able to go in and secure a kill onto the Galio 2v1, but he does just end up dying to the Gwen. His ultimate comes up now. I think if it would have been a second or two sooner, he might have had a double kill. Weber State is able to secure their soul point off of all of the scrapping in the bot lane. We see 5k gold lead for this Garen in the top lane. He is tied with gold basically as this Tristana. She's 3.2k up on the Orianna, followed by a Volibear and a Gwen in tight races, both on even items. This Gwen's next item should be pretty impactful though if she is able to finish that Rabadon's. But both teams very explosive, and we see the total gold lead is only about 1.4k for Weber State. So despite some of these fights maybe looking a little bit one-sided or explosive, NAU definitely has the chance to pull back and explode Weber State if they can get the right damage and the right targets.
I want to make one mention of the Spear of Sojin on Garen. It's not an item I would think to build, but it makes sense. Your E stacks it so quickly. I also want to make mention is we kind of thought that the Staff of Flowing Water was kind of weird from Seraphine, but then you have to realize whenever she shields or heals her team, they get AP. 4 members of Weber want AP.
Yeah, it's going to stack very well, and she is still just able to be able to pull out a ton of damage onto this NAU team. We do see both of, or as we see NAU turning onto this Baron, maybe trying to pull a little bit of a T1 and sneak the Baron, but let's see if they have the dancing skills. As we see the Gwen getting a little bit low, and Weber State kind of responding here. The Rakan able to jump in and get a 4-man charm, but Weber State not quite there, as there is a huge ultimate lineup from the Shockwave and the Volibears. They're able to annihilate 3 of the members of NAU in exchange for just their Rakan. We see Weber State kind of posturing for this Baron. I think they do have the chance to take it, as it just is an Ashe and a Tristana from the NAU squad. Weber State gonna 2-man the Baron as the Garen's gonna look for more. He flashes onto the Tristana again. A man of a top laner's heart. Just pushing these advantages and a heads-up play to be able to run that deep into the jungle to be able to secure that kill. Weber State getting 4 kills and a Baron. A fantastic play from them.
Yeah, just absolutely demolishing. NAU thought they could do it because they knew that the Orianna and the Seraphine weren't quite there. But the Rakan engage being enough to simply dissuade them. Yes, he ended up dying, but the CC into the Garen with the Stride Breaker, the Shockwave pulling them in right as the Encore hit every last member of NAU.
Yeah, just a great team fight from Weber State, able to get the enemy caught in a, not even a choke point, but they were just lined up and ready to go. Excellent held team fight from them. We'll have to see if they decide to keep standing in these tight corners, as it appears that they're good at grouping up. As we see a trade here, this bot lane fight as it's jungle v jungle, and the Gwen showing why she is such a late game menace. She has 3 completed items. The Volibear does have 3 as well, but the Gwen just a little bit more of a hyper carry than this Volibear.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not able to W quick enough to get the chomps, get the heals, and Gwen does true damage with her middle of her snip. Unfortunately, Gwen, you walk too far forward, and that is a quickness coming through. Yes, Gwen is immune, but they have enough HP to walk away.
Yeah, a good play from Weber State to not allow this Gwen to sit around at such low HP and punishing maybe her being a little bit too greedy. Weber State able to trade a tier 2 tower in the top lane for that aggressiveness. And now we see the Garen once again just going in on this Galio, able to, I think that ultimate from the Garen did over 1,000 health damage. As Garen should just be able to take this bot lane tower as well. We do have a teleport in response from Tristana, but I don't think she wants to be here either, as maybe she'll have a little bit of PTSD. She does get a good ult. Garen does not have his flash, as she does remember it being used earlier. At least I hope she would. A good trade from the Tristana. However, Garen able to take 2 towers and really just blow that top lane open.
Yeah, just imagine. All I'm going to say is if Garen kills you quickly, imagine what happens when an Infernal Soul Garen flashes on you.
Yeah, this Infernal Soul is coming up here in 20 seconds. Now, Weber State will be down their top laner, but we do see they have a lot of stat advantages as Weber State top 4 of the 5 players on the map in XP leads. Maybe not leads is the wrong word, but they do have the highest level, so that is a lot of stat difference. Now, they may be able to stall this dragon out or at least prevent NAU from starting it immediately, as Garen doesn't have teleport, I believe. The Tristana trading onto the Braum a little, or not Tristana, Orianna trading onto Braum. We do see an Ashe ult used as she's trying to get a pick going somewhere. But Weber State is going to use a quickness, and they're going to engage a little bit here onto NAU. However, it's not able to get a whole lot done, as maybe the Rakan is just here caught out. Weber State not able to get a whole lot done. Is just kidding. The Shockwave comes through and deals a ton of damage to this NAU team. But they are trading their Volibear for it. And man, people are just getting caught out. This was a whole lot. Both teams trading 1-for-1 as we see Weber State's jungler going down for NAU support. Tristana is able to jump onto this Orianna though and take the kill as Weber State does jump into this Dragon Pit. They do annihilate the Galio, but it's, man, chaotic fights. Garen is still alive though. He was able to teleport in here. And he is fighting against the jungler and the mid laner, able to annihilate the Tristana, but that is a 3-item Gwen alive, as we mentioned earlier. He was sticking around to see if maybe he could jump in for his steal, but not able to pull it off, as NAU is able to secure that dragon.
Wow, just crazy things. As in the top lane, pushing because of that's how Riot Spaghetti coded the minions, that once your team is behind, minions get a secret shadow buff that they will constantly push into the enemy lane.
Yeah, able to push down into that inhib for the enemy minions. Weber State, perhaps not the outcome they wanted for that fight, but they were able to get some kills and not give up too much of their advantage. The Garen is further ahead. He isn't quite full build yet, so that's not too big of a deal. But it would be nice to see some gold going on to maybe some of these other members of Weber State so that they could help make a little bit more of a difference in this fight. The beginning of that fight was just a little bit sloppy, and I think Weber State not able to get perhaps the engage that they wanted, and not have as impactful as a fight as NAU was able to pull it out from them.
Yeah, and there are some pings coming on to the poor Galio, as I am sorry, my friend, the top lane curse of you being there, but Image just going to get absolutely burst like crazy, but the charm coming in will mean he doesn't go down. That's Volibear for you, folks.
Yeah, great sustain from this Volibear and a great response from Weber State, able to get the charms from the Rakan and the knockups. I thought that Galio was going to be able to stall enough as we see Garen just continuing to go forward. He eliminates the Ashe, and now he's going to go for the Braum as well. Just a 4-for-0 trade from Weber State, and they've got an open bot lane here and 3 members to be able to push it. They're at least going to be able to take an inhib, and there might even be potential to end this game as Orianna is able to stop the Tristana from going back. So yeah, this is an open base from Weber State Esports.
Yep, I have one thing to say. Serpent's Fang. Did you see the amount of shielding that Seraphine pumped out? It is disgusting. You did great at getting ahead early, Tristana, but all I'm going to say is Garen.
Yeah, a good game from Weber State, able to wrap it up despite some misplays in some of those mid-game fights. But they are able to take this victory here as NAU just overplays maybe a little bit on one side of the map.
We do thank you so much for joining us this evening for our NECC League of Legends games. We will be back on Monday for our Valorant games with Rocket League on Wednesday. Thank you so much and see you then.